Well, thank you all for joining us. So how did you folks hear about this talk today? Was it because it was announced upstairs? Good. In the newspaper. Great. And what's your name? Nice to meet you. And nice to meet you. Hello. Hello. So this presentation, if you saw the description, we'll be talking about sort of my magical journey, my journey of discovery, so to speak. I'm going to be talking about some personal stories. I'll be demonstrating some magic tricks that I created to help me cope with some of these stories I'm telling you. And also, I'll be talking about my journey with Reiki. I understand that this is a holistic fair sort of thing going on upstairs. And a little known fact, I am a Reiki master. I don't really advertise it, and I'll tell you why as we go on. But let's just start off with a little question and demonstration. Is it possible to predict the future? Is it possible? Well, let's find out using, do I have one? I think I brought one. Yes, I did bring one with a coin toss. Is it possible to predict the future? Let's see. Bonnie.
No.
Heads, no, she says. Heads or tails? What do you think?
Tails.
So you think it's going to be tails? Let's find out. Is it possible to predict the future? Oh, Bonnie, take a look. What is that?
That's 50-50.
It is 50-50.
That's all that is.
It's 50-50, but it is tails. It is tails. But it's better than 50-50.
Yeah, there's a heavier side to a coin like that.
Well, there's also that. There's a way to make this 100%. There's a way. You have to, what I call stack the deck in your favor. You have to have a coin with tails on both sides.
Oh, and
a coin with heads on both sides. So it is possible to predict the future when you're prepared and can influence the outcome. But is it possible to predict the future if we don't have the luxury of such things? Is it possible to control the outcomes if we don't have any control? I'm an extensive journaler. I've been journaling since I was in middle school, and I journaled up until last night. So I was recently looking through some of my writings from 10 years ago. And I'm going to share with you a quick excerpt from something I called it Chapter 2. I don't know if it was supposed to be part of a book. I don't really remember. I don't even remember writing this, but this is what I wrote. I don't anger easily, but what angers me is that we, our bodies, who we are, humans, don't have very good communication with our souls. We have communication, though. We do have communication, though, just not the kind that I would like. And that is what I struggle with. I do get clues, though. Sometimes in my dreams, I hear my soul talking to other souls. My soul and the other souls think that I'm not dreaming. But sometimes I realize that I am dreaming. And it is in those moments that I pay very close attention to what they're saying so that I can figure out what's going on. They always catch on, though, and they start talking gibberish, so I can't understand them. They're sneaky. Those souls are sneaky. They don't want me to ruin their plans. It's a conspiracy, I tell you. A conspiracy. And lastly, I go on to say that I sometimes think that my soul is really mad at me. When my soul finally gets done with me, when the mission is complete, my soul will probably, in its own way, go home and complain to all of its soulmates and say, "Did you see that guy? He was a real piece of work. He couldn't just let go. He just had to know everything. He almost ruined our plans. Did you see him eavesdropping on our conversations?" So that was a piece of writing from 10 years ago. A little insight into what I think about. Is it possible to know why we're here? Is it possible to predict the future, even if we don't have double heads and double tail coins, even if we have a genuine portrait? Please verify, this is a genuine heads on one side and tails on the other side. Is it possible to predict the future? Now just think about what your answer might be. We'll get back to that. For now, I'm going to take a little bit of a risk. I'm going to commit to writing. I'm going to write something down, and I think it's going to be Susanna. I think this is going to be for you, Susanna. I'm going to write down something. I want to make sure you don't see what it is. I'm going to show you so you can verify I did write something down, just don't say what it is. This is what I'm committing to. Now this is a risk. I'm taking a risk right now. I'm putting myself out there. I wrote down the name of a playing card from a deck of cards. And I'm hoping it's the card that you're just going to say in just a moment. Alright? So if you could just think of any random card. A lot of people think of maybe the Ace of Spades or Queen of Hearts. Those are the emotional cards, the card of death, the card of love. You could think of an emotional card, but you might think of a completely random card. Are you thinking of a random card?
I don't know.
You don't know yet? Okay, take your time.
No, I know what I'm thinking of. I just don't know how you classify it.
Oh, okay. So what card are you thinking? It's okay if you say
I'm thinking of the Ace of Hearts.
the Ace of Hearts. This is a risk. Very risky, and I failed. I wrote down the Three of Clubs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, it was a risk. No magic trick. Oh, thank you. But there is a reason that I choose to do this demonstration at this point. It's because, well, frankly, this demonstration has never worked. I've never once done this risk, and they say Three of Clubs. That's never happened. So why would I do this? And the reason is this. It's because it's beyond magic tricks. I've been doing magic tricks my whole life. It was my first hobby when I was a kid. It was my first part-time job in high school. I've been doing tricks and jokes my whole life. But it's about something more. It's not about always winning. We can't always succeed at things. Sometimes things don't work out. Sometimes we have to stay open to the backup plans. And sometimes we don't see those backup plans right away. Sometimes we just give it a little time, kind of like I'm doing right now. But I think I have the backup plan. You said the Ace of Hearts, right?
Yes.
Inside this deck of cards, I have the Ace of Hearts. Along with the rest of it. It's not the trick. Here's the trick. You see, the Ace of Hearts is a very special card because it's the only one face down inside the deck. And it would not be a very good trick if it was not Susanna's Ace of Hearts. So give her a nice big hand.
And that's the absolute first thing that came
That was
to
the
my mind.
first thing that came to mind.
Yes, as soon as you asked me to what is in your mind, I already knew.
You already knew.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Well, that was amazing of you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
So it's possible to risk, and it's possible to put yourself out there and fail. I'm gonna read you a little excerpt from my book, Journey of Discovery, available now on Amazon. It's a true story of what I call my journey of discovery, a time in my life when I had put myself way out there and I had failed and I was in a place of struggle. I was struggling with this. And so this is where the story picks up. It picks up from the beginning of a failure. The following story is true. I share it exactly as I experienced it, but keep in mind that if you were there with me, you may have experienced something completely different. Late one night, I stood on the railroad crossing of a dark, winding road, and a tree spoke to me. Now, a tree had never spoken to me before, so I listened closely to what it had to say. The tree said, and I quote, "You are on a journey of discovery." Now, I didn't know what the tree meant, so I asked, "What am I supposed to discover? Where am I to journey to?" And the tree simply replied, "The answers only make more questions." It's a true story. And that's the day that I began, in earnest, my journey of discovery. And that journey led me to do some pretty crazy things. Again, this was at the beginning of a dark time in my life when I had tried and failed, and now these trees are talking to me. I thought I was going crazy or on drugs or something. I didn't know what was going on. But ultimately what I ended up doing was I decided to get rid of all of my possessions. You know, in the Bible it talks about give away all your things, come follow me. I was like, okay, so I sold what I could, gave away what I couldn't sell. I got rid of my car, quit my job, and hopped on my bicycle and headed for California. Now, just to be clear, I didn't live anywhere near California at the time. I lived in Massachusetts.
Oh.
So, now, I didn't, here's the thing, I didn't make it far before I decided to turn around and go back home. The only problem was I didn't have a home to go back to because I had left my apartment, I had given it up. I didn't have a job to go back to, I didn't have a car, I didn't have any things, I had nothing. I had wiped my slate clean. Now, in my defense though, even though I had dove headfirst into this mission and I gave up very early on, I made it as far as Connecticut. I did make it to Connecticut. But in my defense, it was raining, it was cold, it was also November, terrible time to go on a 3,000-mile cross-country bicycle ride. It perhaps wasn't planned out very well, but I did get exactly what I was looking for on this journey of discovery that I was on. Because even though I didn't have any things to go back to, I did have actually I had two things. I had a clean slate, and I had a lot of love. You see, I was now in a place where I was in this place of darkness. I was struggling, and I couldn't take care of myself while also supporting myself. So getting rid of all the distractions of life and being welcomed in by very loving friends who let me sleep on their living room floor for 6 months while I figured things out. I was able to truly take care of myself without having the burden of having to support myself. And I came out on the other side a much, much different person. Now, during this time, I was searching for answers. I was searching for anything to enlighten me and figure out what it is I'm supposed to discover, find out the answers. Okay, why am I failing? Why, if life isn't what I thought it was, what is life? And on one particular day, I remember it was Easter Sunday. I think it was probably 2009 or so. It was just before I was going to go over to my family's house to go have Easter dinner. And I decided to go on a hike first. So I went to go on this hike. I parked at this parking lot near this nature walk area. And I was so tired though that I never got out of the car. I just slept. I just took this really long nap. And then when I woke up from the nap, a few hours later, only then did I get out of the car. So I was in a daze, I was kind of half asleep. You know how it is, you wake up from a nap, you're groggy. I'm walking through these woods. I find this lake. Maybe it's a big pond, I don't know, it was water. I just sat down by this water. I was in this place again, experiencing grief, experiencing darkness, talking to trees. I don't have anything anymore, I just have a lot of love. And I'm sitting there at this lake, kind of, I don't know, meditating, maybe it's prayer. I was talking to God. And it was there, well, in this space, everything became so large. Everything was so big. There was this bumblebee, and it looked like the size of a fist. There were these dragonflies flying around. They looked like real live dragons. And I swear, I wasn't drinking, I wasn't smoking. This is, just to be clear, clean slate. And I remember looking at the reflection of the trees and the sun on this water, and all of a sudden, the only way I can explain this, I don't know how else to put this into words. This is the best description I've had. It's that God came down and hugged me. That's what it felt like. And in that moment, I was like, wow, I've never been enlightened before, but I think in this moment I am. It goes away very quickly. But in that moment, that's the best description. I was hugged by God. And you can imagine, if you get into this moment, you don't want to leave this space. You want to stay here. You got Easter dinner to go to, so you gotta you gotta go. So I'm walking back in this space, sort of in a daze, and I'm driving through town. I stop to get a bottle of water to hydrate myself. And while I'm walking out of the store, there's this magazine rack, and it's the magazine called Wisdom. Oh no, yes, it's called Wisdom. Have you ever heard of this magazine? Some of you have. It's like this holistic, alternative stuff, you know. I was like, I had never read this magazine, but I was looking for wisdom. So I was like, okay, maybe this is what I need. So I picked it up, and as I'm walking back, I started looking through them, and I found lots of these little descriptions of like classes for this thing called Reiki. Now, I had heard of Reiki. I've had friends that I've met along the way, acquaintances who would talk about Reiki, and I was like, oh, that sounds great, that sounds wonderful. For you, that has nothing to do with me though, you know, that's great for you. But then I was in this space, having just had this experience at the lake, reading wisdom from this magazine, finding those advertisements. I said, okay, I think it's time, if I'm on this journey of discovery, this is something I'm discovering. I have to walk down this path. So I ended up signing up for a class. I never had a Reiki session on me, so I really had no idea. I was just taking this as a fact-finding mission. I took the class, and it was amazing. Have any of you ever had Reiki done? Some of you have, some of you haven't. Oh my goodness! As you can attest to, it's an amazing, amazing experience. So, having it done, but getting attuned to then also be able to not just receive, but also be the conduit. Oh my goodness!
What is it?
So, what it is, to put it into, essentially, it's either a gentle touch or just above the body. So you're not doing any like manipulation of the body tissue or the muscles, but the way that I describe it, it's kind of like while a massage is for your body, Reiki is for your soul. You're getting realigned, and it's very peaceful. A lot of people fall asleep. A lot of people say they see like visions or colors while they're doing it. Some people say they don't really feel anything physically, but they have these thoughts. So it's a wonderful, peaceful experience. I remember it was a 3-day course that I took, and after the first day, I went back home at the end of the day, and I remember brushing my teeth in a way that I'd never brushed my teeth before. I was brushing my teeth with gratitude. I was thanking each and every tooth as I was brushing. I was doing it with so much intentionality. I was doing it in such a way that with so much focus. It was a fascinating experience. I usually brushing my teeth, to me it was always more of a chore, like I have to do this. But now it was something that I want to do. It's like as a way to thank my body for allowing me to live this life and experience this world. It was a very eye-opening time in my life on this journey of discovery.
Well, what had happened to you that day that made you so in tune to your teeth when you were brushing them? Because you had a class, right?
Yeah, so it was the first day of class, and so what they did was they had attuned us to the Reiki energy, to the Reiki alignment. So we were attuned to it. We received some treatments where you just sit in that space, you get realigned, as I call it again, a soul hug, and I was just put into this like altered, very heightened awareness That's what it was for me. As I understand, everyone experiences something different. Like you've had Reiki done?
Lots of
You've
the
had
lots
Reiki
of
done?
energy done,
Yeah.
including like,
What has been your experience?
it's very relaxing, peaceful. I have other experiences of similar to what you spoke of, but not in Reiki. And I think a lot of it has to do with your connection to the person who you're receiving from. I think it's not just somebody doing something to you. I think it's a code thing, you know. So the woman that I had Reiki with, who lives here, is very gentle and sweet, and I just get really relaxed. So, but it's different.
Yeah,
It can be different.
it's kind of is like an interesting dynamic. Yeah, I've never really thought of it like that, but yeah, it is kind of it is a relationship, right? How about you? How was your experience with Reiki? Healings. After I'd taken that class, I've taken 3 classes. I'm at the level. I'm a Reiki master now. Again, as I said, I don't advertise that really. I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a little bit. But along the way, one of the things that I started doing was volunteering my time to Reiki anyone who wanted it, friends, family. I teamed up with this organization called Project New Hope, which is it's for veterans who are wounded, but it's more like the PTSD type of wounds. It's not, you can't see the wounds, but they're wounded. So I teamed up with them initially was to do magic shows for them, but then once I started taking these classes, I would also do Reiki. And one of my favorite Reiki experiences was when I came in. I was going to do like 20-minute sessions for these veterans, but so many people signed up and I only had so much time that I ended up doing like these 5 to 10-minute sessions, which was really stretching my abilities because I was really trained. It's more like upwards of an hour, so I was like already starting to alter the way that I would normally do it. But I wanted to help these people. They had come, they wanted to experience this, so I went through everyone there, and people who had heard about Reiki were excited about it. People who had received Reiki before, they were excited about it. People who had never heard of it and were actually kind of turned off to it, but they were in a place like me. They were looking for answers, so they were like, okay, this is something, I'm going to try this. So I had everywhere from skeptics to people who were already gung-ho, and hands down, because I always give like a little form just to say, sort of like an assessment form. How did I do? I want to make sure I'm doing a good job. And overwhelmingly, they all experienced in things that they can't even describe. They thought I brought someone else in with me during these sessions. There was this one guy. He said, "How many hands do you have?" It's like, "Just 2." It was like I felt other hands on me. And I had this one person. The way that you're taught in America typically is very regimented hand positions. That's the Americanized version of Reiki. The more traditional way that was originally created, it's more intuitive. So you tend to sort of like go where your hands are called to. And I had people say that, you put your hands in just the right places. They were just amazing experiences. And this is stuff, again, coming from people who don't believe in this stuff. Here's the thing. The reason I even got into Reiki, and the reason I'm telling this story is because my history as a magician, doing magic as tricks, doing magic as a joke, as entertainment, that's one thing. But going beyond that, taking a risk, putting yourself out there, looking for what I call the greatest magic trick of all. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for real magic. I'm looking to not just make people laugh and smile, forget about the troubles. I'm looking to transform people's lives and understand this puzzle we call life. During that time between when I went on that bicycle ride, learning Reiki. I wrote a book. Well, I also wrote this one as part of a workshop, but this is my first book. There's a little excerpt in here I want you to read to you. It seems life is a puzzle. When oddly shaped pieces present themselves, you may wonder how they could ever fit into your life. But then one day something happens, and all of a sudden those seemingly out-of-place pieces find a perfect fit in your life, revealing a beautiful picture. A picture that is you. And that for me, during this time was sort of like taking the pieces of the puzzles that were from even my childhood, and even to that time when I was going through that loss of putting myself out there and risking and failing and figuring out how those pieces fit together into my life. I had an experience, it was just after I published this book, I had an experience when I started house sitting. I was a professional house sitter because I didn't have a home, so I would just go to friends, families' houses. They'd go on vacation. I'd watch their cats. I'd watch their hamsters. One of my friends joined the circus. I have amazing friends. She joined the circus, so I lived at her house in Northampton watching her cats that summer. And this is an amazing experience, and I have enough time. I'm gonna just tell you this story, because this is my why. Cat Lovell had just joined the circus and asked me to watch her cats. I had met Cat just a few years earlier while I was working at Fitzwillies in Northampton, covering a shift for a buddy of mine. It was Saturday night, the end of my shift. It was in the middle of the hardest part of the night, getting paid. Had worked all night performing only my A-list material, and as I waited by the bar for the compensation, a woman approached me and said, "You look like a magician." And I said, "Well, I am a magician." Her reply was not so unusual. She said, "My husband is a magician." Now I hear that in the course of my encounters at work a lot. In the spirit of conversation, I politely asked who her ex-husband was, not expecting to actually know who her ex-husband was. Many people dabble with magic, and even if they only know one or two tricks, they feel justified in calling themselves a magician. Her answer proved otherwise. Simon Lovell. You know that means nothing to you. To a magician. Living legend. So Simon Lovell is a living legend. Arguably the best sleight-of-hand artist living today, and with the performance style to match. Now, I did not presume to even think that she would want to see any magic from me. Her husband is the best magician alive today. And especially what ex-wife of a magician would ever want to see any more magic? But she responded with, "No, I love magic. Please show me something." So I performed my A-list material, and at the end she said that was some of the best magic she had seen in a long time. And we became instant friends, and it was during the time that, became instant friends. She asked me to watch her apartment. This was like a year or so later. I had a profound experience. It was a dank August night. And though it had been nearly 3 years since Stephanie's passing, and I was already 6 months sober, there were still fits of darkness that would sneak up on me without warning. This was one such occasion, and my goodness, I was mad. Though I had rid myself of most of my possessions to go on the bicycle ride, I still kept some of the more meaningful items. Even though it may not always be apparent, I am sentimental. I kept such things as a playing card, a drive-in movie ticket stub, 2 mini golf balls, a souvenir drinking glass from Longhorn Steakhouse, and a factory-sealed, blue-backed playing card box containing only one card. This unusual playing card box came to me just a year earlier when I purchased several decks of playing cards. When I brought the cards home, I discovered that one of the boxes was empty, save for one card. Now I could tell there was just one card inside by softly rattling the box. It was factory sealed. This deck had a noticeable defect. I considered returning the deck to the store. After all, I paid for a full deck of cards and not an almost empty box, but I decided to keep it purely for the novelty of it. I also liked to think that I knew what card was inside. Of course, there would be no way to truly know without first opening it. But where's the fun in that? Faith resides not in knowing, but rather in taking comfort in the hope that it is, regardless of the lack of empirical evidence. So I took comfort in believing that the sole card inside the factory sealed box was the 3 of clubs. Because believing so meant that Stephanie was still with me. The week before Stephanie passed, I did a card trick for her, and she had a free choice of what card to use. After carefully looking through all the cards, she chose the 3 of clubs. She explained that she chose this card because it is the luckiest. Lucky number 3, when joined with the lucky shamrock, became Stephanie's favorite card. I then gave her a marker and I asked her to write something on the card. Stephanie, being Stephanie, carefully wrote, "I love you," across the entire face of the card. This playing card would of course become one of the few items that I kept when I got rid of all else. As life goes, the card was lost and then found in a most magical way. Moral of the story is this. This is why I believe, without knowing, that the sole card in the factory sealed blue box was the 3 of clubs. For how could it be any other way? If life has even a sliver of meaning, then the card must be Stephanie's. And of course, I came into possession of it so that the pieces of the great puzzle we call life could be put together to reveal the beautiful picture that it is. Yes, it must be the 3 of clubs. But of course, I would not open the box. I did not want to tempt my fate. For if the card should not be the 3 of clubs, then I would be wrong about life and all meaning would be thrown out the window. No, I didn't need to open the box to know that life was more meaningful than even my own imagination could dream of. I knew without seeing. So I kept the blue sealed box as a physical representation of this hard-fought faith. This faith that I had given up everything to achieve. This faith that I had abandoned my past for, such that I could fully accept who I am to become. Yes, I knew without seeing. I did not have to see with my eyes. For my eyes wide shut and my heart wide open, my soul had finally been free. Opening the box would only open the door to disappointment and pain. Pain that I did not even want to entertain. But in the darkness of that August night, I was reluctantly entertaining the uninvited guest. And I was mad. What little I had left, I began throwing away, piece by piece, throwing away the most valuable sentiments. Yes, even the factory-sealed box of playing cards containing only one card. It came into my hand, and the very thought of a meaningful life enraged me beyond the breaking point. I whipped it across the room. I stomped over to it, picked it up as hard as I could, threw it into the waste can. But then a moment of inspiration struck, and I realized that now more than ever was the best time to tempt fate. How perfect would this be? Atheists the world over will take delight in being right. Life is meaningless. Life has no purpose. There is no God. There is nothing after death, and our loved ones are simply gone. There is no rhyme or reason to why things happen. We are simply born, we suffer, and then die. Yes, it no longer mattered. Everything was now gone, along with my waning faith. How beautiful to finally seal the deal. I took the sealed blue box out of the garbage, and I tore it open. What I found struck me like Saul on the road to Damascus. Inside the sealed blue box was a lone red-backed playing card. A blue box. A red-backed card. I turned it over and learned that I must never second-guess my faith. It was the Three of Clubs. How could it be any other way? Calculate the odds of a box of playing cards being sold with only one card inside. Add to this the odds of this card being a red card inside a blue box. Added to the odds of me arriving at the proper store that had been delivered to and choosing the correct box of cards to purchase. I am not adequate enough at math. I presume few people are to calculate the astronomical odds. This is either the greatest coincidence in the world, or there must be more to life than what we can see with our eyes. Out of the darkness, I found my light, and that has made all the difference. It's a true story. Thank you. Not everyone does, I appreciate that. And I don't tell that story too often. Mostly because people don't believe me. And also, in a way, I think it's one of those just for you things, you know. Things happen that other people, it's a message for you, not a message for everyone else. And I think we all have those things, those confirmations, those sort of affirmations that you're on the right path. These puzzle pieces are fitting together. Now, I did tell you folks that I also have some magic demonstrations for you folks. And one of the things that I most loved about this time is when I'm experiencing these things, I'm getting goosebumps just telling these stories. It's that I could now take these real life experiences and then bring them to life using magic tricks. And I'm going to show you folks my favorite card trick. Now, I mentioned earlier when we were talking to Susanna about the emotional cards, the Ace of Spades being the card of death, the Queen of Hearts being the card of love. Those are the emotional cards. So this is a trick that I created inspired by that experience that I just told you folks. And I use giant-sized cards because this is kind of a big deal. A big deal. Thank you. I also write absurd jokes. All right. And I also only use the Ace of Spades. Because if there's one thing that I've learned, is that there's truly only one real promise in life. We're all going to die. No matter what we choose, our best laid plans, every path we make on this choose your own adventure, we're going to die. So we have a new arrival. And your name?
BJ.
BJ. BJ.
Hi.
Nice to see you, BJ.
Nice to be seen.
Oh, it is, isn't it?
It is.
So BJ, if you would, so we have the Ace of Spades, the Ace of Spades, the Ace of Spades, or the Ace of Spades.
Yes, I see that.
Which would you like to use?
Gosh. Ace of Spades.
The Ace of Spades. This one, that one, this one. Which one?
That one.
That one?
That one.
That one?
Mm-hmm.
You want to change your mind?
Yes.
Okay, which one would you like?
One to the right.
My right or your right?
Your right.
My right. So this one.
Yes.
All right. Now by the way, there's two ways to do what I'm about to do. I'm going to show you my favorite way, because this really drives home what I learned during this time. All right, so this is one, right?
Sure.
Here's the idea. So often in life, this has been my experience, the choices we make are not our own choices. We might think they're our own choices, they're coming from our thoughts, right? But our thoughts are influenced by the people we surround ourselves by. So for me, I remember one of my choices was I went to school to become a music teacher. And I wanted to be a music teacher. I was told that's what I wanted to do. I said, no, yeah, I love music. I play the saxophone. Yeah, that makes sense. It wasn't really what I wanted to do. to. It was what I was being told that I wanted to. I went down that path for a little while, then I realized this isn't for me. So I dropped out of school. Took 10 years off. Went back for something else. But here's the thing, now like an archer shooting blindly, we make choices, we go down that path and it doesn't work out. We risk and it doesn't work out. So what do? Like an archer shooting blindly, we shoot these arrows at anything that hits. Do you want this one, or that one? Choose two.
This and that.
Let's see, that was a that?
No, the two in your right hand.
Okay.
This and that.
Okay, so this and that. This and that. So now, like an archer shooting blindly, you hit some things, right? You make some choices. You're finally making choices on your own accord, right? But now you realize you can't have it all. This is one of my favorite sayings. You can't have it all. Where would you put it? Right? There's not enough hours in the day to do everything. Kind of like why I got rid of all my things to go on that bike ride. So with one final option left, just point to one. The one on your left or the one on your right?
My right.
The one on your right. Now finally making a choice, a deliberate choice. Again, this talk is all about gratitude, intentionality, focus, right? I told that story about brushing my teeth with gratitude, making that conscious choice to thank each tooth as I was brushing, being grateful for letting me live this life, eat food that nourishes my body. Finally, making a choice for yourself. Again, I came up with this demonstration based off of that experience with Stephanie and the 3 of Clubs, but it's also, I was looking for answers. I was at a church. I was at the a Catholic church. I was listening to a homily, and he was giving a homily on, who was it? I forget her name, but he was talking about how to be physically blind and unable to experience the beauty of a sunset in Sap, and yet to be spiritually blind and unable to experience the beauty of life itself is a true tragedy. Helen Keller, let's talk about Helen Keller. To be blind, but to be spiritually blind, you can't even experience the beauty of life. That's a true tragedy. He went on to say that isn't death itself merely the sunset of a life well lived? That touched me. I like that. And I'm happy to say, BJ, out of all of these dark paths that were available to you, you had the presence of mind to be grateful, to focus, and with intention, find your light in the dark.
I generally do. I'm impressed and thankful for it too. I think.
That's so nice.
Give her a nice big hand.
Thank you. I've always said that I'm blessed. I feel like I'm blessed. I've had hiccups. I always get what I need just when I need it, and I'm thankful for it. I never get an abundance, and if I do, I pass it on. Try it anyway.
But always exactly what you need, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing.
I don't think that's what I needed, but somebody else said, this is what you need.
Yeah, that's one thing that I came to experience on that journey of discovery, talking to the tree. What am I discovering? And I think that's one of the things that I walked away most with. It's that again, I'm talking about me right now. I'm exactly where I need to be, and I think, BJ, I think you recognize that you're exactly where you need to be. Not just physical space, but emotional space, too. You're exactly where you need to be. We're experiencing everything we've done. We're exactly where we should be, considering everything we've done to get here. Right? So this is exactly where we belong right now. And that used to make me angry. Because I was like, wow, I need to make some better choices. But it also makes me happy. This is my latest book, And the Pursuit of Happiness. Consider this a rough draft. I'm still pursuing happiness. This is just my current understanding of it. But I am happy. I'm very happy right now. As for tomorrow, I don't know. I'm in a good place right now. And that reminds me. I have one final magic trick to show you. Can you name again? This is my favorite trick. This is why I choose to end with this piece. Now, we've never met before, right? I'm so happy about this too. Don't worry, get that all. You may look at the dollar bill. Make sure that is a real dollar bill that you might find in your own purse, right? Real deal? Now again, this is all a metaphor. This is all about not just what it is, but about what it could mean, right? So this dollar bill represents where we are right now. This is right now. This is reality, right? This is us at the beginning of the rest of our lives. This is us at the beginning of our dreams. In my experience, I'm sure you all have your own examples of this in your own life, that if you truly, truly, truly want something, and you walk down that path and you work hard for it, you ask for it along the way, you get help, and you just stay that course and stay focused, eventually you're going to get it. You're going to get it, right? So this dollar bill will represent those things. If we could imagine this to be anything other than a $1 bill, anything other than a 1, what might we dream it to be? What do you think? A $50 bill. You know what I like about you is that you're aiming high, but you're a realist about it. I like that. But if we're going to dream, we might as well dream a little bit. That's what you may take a look at that. Make sure it is a real $100 bill. Is that the real deal? Little pen. Yeah, we don't get to see them too often. At the bank and passing, maybe.
Yeah, right.
There's so many counterfeit around. Some places that don't really accept
That's true. I'm reminded of the story. There was a convenience store that refused to accept a $2 bill because they were like, "This isn't real. They don't have $2 bills. They wouldn't accept U.S. currency." But here's the idea: if you leave with nothing else, it's not going to be this. But this is the thought we're going to leave with. As real as this is only a dream. Right? And yes, we can't achieve anything we want, but nothing ever stays the same. Everything moves on. Everything is constantly changing. Because right now, we're just right here with our $1 bill. Now, at first sight, this seems upsetting. Oh, thank you. This seems like it might be, something to get frustrated about, something to get angry about. But what I've come to understand in my pursuit of happiness is that dreams won't make us happy. Yes, we can have anything we want, but nothing stays the same. So we can't look for happiness in achieving those dreams because everything's going to get taken away from us. Our own life is going to get taken away from us. We can't seek happiness in these things or in people or in these circumstances. It's, for me, again, I'm talking about me. Maybe I'm talking about you too, but for me, it's the relationships, right? It's the connections. It's the people that you meet along the way. That, to me, is where I find my happiness, or a lot of it. You folks make me feel good. How do you all feel?
Good.
It's my favorite.
Sun's out.
What's that?
The sun's out.
The sun's out, yeah! Sunshine. Well, that's everything I wanted to talk about today. Oh,
Thank
you're
you.
very welcome. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you all so much for coming. Namaste. Oh, you know what? I realized I forgot to tell you why I don't advertise that I do Reiki. Just quickly, I don't really Reiki people anymore. I Reiki the earth. Like I'll I'll Reiki rocks, and then I'll leave them out in the community or in the woods, or throw them into the ocean, or I'll Reiki the trees when I'm walking through the forest. So it's more of a, like I'm healing the earth. That's what I'm focusing on. So, I mean, but if friends ask, I'll of course give them a session, but that's where I am in my Reiki journey.
Send it to Washington.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I haven't been to Washington in a while. I think they can use
I think it's time. It's past time.
Might be past time, that's true.
Bonnie, it was a pleasure to meet you. Very much. I hope to see you again. I come here every month. I do presentations, and I'm typically also every month at the Hooker Dunham Theater doing a more traditional magic show. My next date there is Friday the 13th of October.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, I'll be there with my show, 4,000 Years of Magic. It's a long time to be performing.
Very well said.
Thank you. Yeah, it's all that Reiki.
Yeah, thank you.
My mother was born on Friday the 13th of February.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. So I always think of Fridays and 13 like very, very lucky. Because if she wasn't born, I wouldn't be.
That's true. You're thankful, yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you so much for coming.
Oh, I really did.
I'm glad you did. Thank you.
Although I've never been to races.
It's an amazing experience. I really enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like though since you expanded beyond people to the earth, it's an interesting concept.
Yeah, I got the idea actually from this guy that I met at these classes that I was taking, and we were diving into other modalities. We were doing Akashic record reading and stuff. I was exploring all sorts of things, and that was one of the things that he had suggested. He's like, I see you healing the earth. I was like, I can, or I accept the challenge anyway. Yeah. So that's what I've been focusing on. And, so I do a lot of hiking. I'm just.
Yeah, I should imagine.
Just let that energy be.
Come around the road, every time you go around the curve, there's another curve. Yeah. It's absolutely a place of stunning beauty. Is Massachusetts like that?
It's similar. Yeah, but it's definitely.
Amazing person. She wasn't very old.